All right, Michelle. Michelle, where did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Los Angeles, California, East LA specifically.
East LA. And tell me
Yeah.
about your family growing up. You had both your parents?
No, I didn't grow up with both my parents. I grew up with my father, who got sole custody of me when I was about like 2 because my mom chose more tumultuous lifestyle down here on Skid Row. So
Oh, really? Your mom came to Skid Row.
yeah,
You were how old?
about like 2 or 3 when I got full custody. She did like a prison term somewhere in between that, where kind of vaguely remember seeing her as a child, but not really. But me and my dad lived with my grandparents.
So your mom was into drugs?
Yeah.
How would you describe your childhood?
Um, for the most part, as a youth, good. Like with my grandparents and my father before, his drinking really took a toll. Like, I mean, being younger, kind of left the reins to like my aunts and uncles who had all had like children my age. So I grew up with a lot of cousins. Like family vacations were a thing. Till I got to like middle school. My dad's drinking really took into play and just started causing chaos with the rest of my family. And so that pull between the rest of my family and my dad, thinking like my dad's my knight in shining armor, like save me from my drug addict mom kind of deal. Like it's kind of hard always going back and forth with him, like, because it was never the right choice. He ended up being verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and then at some point physically abusive when he couldn't just toss me to the rest of my family anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But for the most part, I was blessed to have my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. But just, I always felt like black sheep alone because it was just always like a burden, like kind of like my grandparents would always like shoot the rest of my family extra money to take me on those vacations that I was so blessed to have, like it was just like.
Did you have siblings?
There's a 10 years difference
So almost,
between me and my youngest brothers.
yeah, so almost not really.
Yeah, and then I'm the only one from my mom and my dad specifically. I have a younger brother from my mom who's also down here on Skid Row, hopefully still alive at this point. I haven't heard from him in about a week. He's only 25. And I have 2 younger brothers from my dad, but he ended up staying married to their mom. They're still married, but me and her have a love-hate relationship in the best way, worst way.
You've been down here on Skid Row for how long?
I've been here about a year now.
Were you homeless before that?
Well, I've already, like, since even high school, I've had to bounce around, like, from, like, friends' houses where, like, families took me in because it's just either I didn't want to follow the rules at my grandparents' house or, just one too many curfews broken. Or I started drinking in high school, so, that really bothered, just the strict Catholic family that I came from, so to speak. So it was just always like, if you don't like it, get the fuck out. So like, bye, kind of, in a sense. But so like, not so to speak homeless before in high school, but like bouncing around from friends to friends' houses for however many months at a time that I was able to, and even thereafter.
Yeah. And eventually that ran out and you
Yeah.
ended up homeless.
Well, I mean, I worked for a majority of the time, 2 or 3 jobs, trying it like on my own. Shacked up with a couple boyfriends, still paying my dues. But after my last relationship, he caught a domestic violence case on that note. So I'm a survivor on that note. But I lost the apartment, COVID hit. I also lost my grandfather, so depression hit me super hard. And just like the frailty of everything. So I was in my car probably for 6 months before I got here. But a big part of it is my drinking and my drug use now. Just having to deal with the lack of support, not being able to talk about past trauma from my early 20s. And then also too, just being tired. like not to be like sob storied because, you know, I'm still blessed. I mean, got a biscuit. Just even now, I can't go back officially to my grandparents' house because I'm that wild card that they're afraid of. Because I have explosions, I'm like bipolar, but I'm also an alcoholic, and now like addicted to meth. I feel like. So it's just, I'm not the most stable person to necessarily have around.
Right. What did you go through in your 20s?
At 19, I was raped. By multiple people, blacked out at a party. So, it's just something like I blacked out, like, for a very long time up until recently, where like it triggered me, like, where I was just like, fuck. Like, oh, that's why. Like, you know, like a lot of things clicked and made sense where it's just like, I don't know, it's still like kind of still don't believe it. Like it was kind of like just one of those fucked up dreams, you know?
That's
like
gonna be a hell of a thing to suddenly realize.
Yeah, where it's just like a lot of my volatile behavior comes from like, you know, like I guess like PTSD from that, you know, without like knowing it, where like I blocked a lot of it out, just having to function and like survive, so to speak, by myself, you know, just like I didn't have time to like wallow, and then just being embarrassed to like go to my family, tell them like they wouldn't believe me, and if they did, it'd be my fault, like for putting myself in that situation. A lot like I feel like the situation I'm in now, like I mean, I'm a grown adult, you know, like I should be able. I mean, I am able. I will be able to get it together, you know. We're not out of choices yet, huh, Biscuit? But yeah, I lost the last apartment I was in and the last relationship I was in about 2 years ago. I was in my car for like 5 months. And then I caught a shelter at the Weingart. I lost that recently, so
you had a roof over your head for a while. At the Weingart.
Not that recently. I mean, I guess time flies when, you know, living life in the fast lane.
Where are you now, in a tent?
Yeah.
That's gonna be rough.
It is, because I worry about Biscuit, and then it's just like I worry about like us just being females.
And being female down here is tough.
Yeah. But it's just hard, like just being down here by yourself, like.
But just being on Skid Row is depressing alone.
Yeah. And then just not feeling safe, and then just not even being sure if you could trust the one you're with, you know? It's like, it's just like constant questioning, like where do we go from here? And it's just like trying to step away, like fuck.
Do you feel like you're like walking in the footsteps of your mom?
Yeah. Where it's like, it's kind of like what kind of hits me the hardest, because it's like when my dad would get abusive with me, like as a teenager, he'd be drunk and like out of his mind and getting physical and like calling me a whore at like 12, or, you know, like what are you talking about? Like, and I'd cry. He'd be like, and he'd call me her name, like thinking I was her, you know? And I mean, we are very similar in like liking. So it's just like, I mean, I feel like a lot of his abuse was like the grievance towards her, like having to pick up whatever pieces she wasn't there for, like whatever she did to him. But like, was just a little kid, you know, like I went to like a private grade school, like sex and all that like wasn't even on my mind like at that time. It was just, like, where it's like I was told that I made up that I was molested by a neighbor when I was like in 4th grade. So it was just always like that shame and guilt like of not being sexual to begin with. So it's just, I don't know, it's a really sensitive issue for me because it's just not my personal personality, you know, like in any kind of way where it's just to be called that as a child, it just translated it. And then with the rape later, that's why I couldn't go back and like say anything about it. That took like a huge toll. Just like on my being, like where it's like the drinking spiraled. And then a drinking spiral, so then you do drugs to keep up with the drinking, and then the drugs aren't enough, so then the drugs get harder.
And your life unravels.
Yeah. It surely, I guess, slowly has, but not completely. I mean,
You still have hope.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm still young, still blessed.
You're how old?
I'm 35.
35.
Yeah. I mean, I got 2 hands.
Yeah.
I mean, unmanicured hands. But, shoes on my feet. I got a biscuit. She's fed. But she's honestly saved my life also. Because, like, my depression hits so hard where it's just, like, when I do drugs, I feel like I at least am in tow of my emotions. Like, other than that, they're, like, everywhere.
The
Like,
crystal meth helps with your depression?
somewhat, because I know, like, what I feel when I'm on crystal meth. Like, other than that, like, it's just, I feel with my bipolar, it's just, like, my depression hits, and it's, like, my lows, like, they're demobilizing. Like, so, like, like, at least I can get out of bed because I'm, like, up. I'm at it, you know? Or, I don't know. It's, like, I've tried, like, pharmaceuticals. They don't work. I mean, not as quickly as crystal meth. But hopefully soon. I mean, I don't plan on being on drugs forever.
Is this your lowest point right now? Yeah.
Yep. Like, I got no phone. I got no home. Barely holding on to family by a thread.
Do you have friends at all?
Kind of cut off myself from all my friends because I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, I've suffered for, like, I've been abused while down here. Like, I didn't have these scars on my face before I got here. Like, every time I show up, there's, like another injury. Like, so I don't talk to anyone from, like, my other life, my past life. Like, and, like, my friends down here is just, like, I don't know if they, like, just want to drug me up, screw me, and, like, you know, toss me to the side, or, you know, turn me into a hoe, like, kill me. Like, so, no one to, like, really trust.
You don't have children?
No. Luckily. I mean, not luckily, children are a blessing, but I mean, everything happens for a reason, and I miscarried twice, so. Yeah.
How do you support yourself now?
Government assistance, and then too, like, I also try and sell whatever personal belongings, like, I had, just, like, on a, like, past life, like, tools or clothes or just electronics that aren't needed anymore because I don't have electricity, you know, stuff like that. NGR.
You haven't had to resort to the darker ways of supporting yourself?
Not specifically, but I feel there's this like culture happening like around me that just like kind of like, whether you're actually doing it or not, like you're portrayed in that like sense where like, you know, like I don't know like what benefit it does to them, like, or for them, but it's just, I don't, and it's so hard because then it's just like, is it the drugs? Is it like actually like a subculture of like instance? Like, am I losing my fucking mind? Like, but luckily, no, I haven't had to fully resort to that. But I mean, you know, people who say to trust them, you know, I can't always trust. So
yeah,
it could just be hidden, ulterior motives behind whatever comfort they're trying to assimilate for whatever reason.
What are you afraid of? What are you most afraid of?
Well, my mom, while she was here, got hit by a car, shattered her pelvis, where like I hadn't seen her in 8 years when that had happened. Where I got a call from a random security guard and I had to call every hospital in the city, try and find her. I did. Her pelvis was shattered, like totally like an instance. But I ended up having to leave her at the hospital because there was no way for me to bring her back and support her. She came back to Skid Row. She ended up getting shot in the face. So really ending up like my mom is like really ultimately like, what I'm terrified of. She was shot in the face because, you know, she liked to get high. She would do whatever she did. I mean, I don't know if for certain, I haven't heard it out of her, but, you know, I hear stories. I hear she was a vivacious character of sorts. But because they were trying to rape her and she didn't want to have sex for whatever drugs, you know, and she was screaming and being loud about it because she's loud, they shot her in the mouth. Through the mouth, like they shot her in the mouth, like through the mouth, and like tossed her out the tent. Put a gun in her mouth, pulled the trigger, and tossed her out the tent. Because she was screaming.
And she died?
No, thank God.
She survived.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I don't want to have to get shot in the face to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, so that's like the ultimate fear. Like, I mean, but, you know, like, by God's graces, she's still here. But, like, you know, what if I'm not that lucky? Or, like, also, too, like, what'll happen to Biscuit? Huh? What happened to my mom? Or, like, yeah. I try and just keep my head down, mind my P's and Q's, be respectful, like, you know, keep my saving, like, manners and values I was raised with, and hopefully not, like, let this be, like, my ultimate pitfall. But this is the lowest of lows. But if this is the lowest of lows, then, you know, hopefully, you know, like they say, there's only one way up. Hopefully.
What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Not to value material things so much. To value people and their spirit and their energy. Because a lot of people down here do have good sense of humor, do have good hearts. It's just, you know, shit just hits fan sometimes. Just value people more than material possessions.
All right, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Wish you and Biscuit a lot of luck.
Yeah, she's my ESSA. She's my emotional support animal. Her homegirl.
It's cute.
She's the smartest girl, Hobik.